Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome to another episode of the Snowflake Watch, episode 33. The date and time is the 2nd of October, 2024 at 8 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming here on twitch.tv/Reganelite1 and on youtube.com/Reganelite. How you guys all doing? Where we normally cover, basically watch and respond to clips and videos online. Mainly we do it on X, but sometimes we'll do it on other platforms, but that's where the main ones are today. Jao, good to see you there. Mad Monk as well. John and 91 Leeds, good to see you all. Hope you're all doing well. There's quite a lot to cover tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time to cover the VP debate. I will try to. No promises to do so, though, guys. No promises to do so. I have been extremely busy today. It has been. I've been very, very busy. More to do with the wrestling content rather than the channel here, which has kind of overwhelmed me a little bit. So, but I have managed to get content together for tonight anyway, and I've got at least one funny video that we haven't seen as well later on as well. But I want to start with the Middle East first. Normally, I start with UK news, but let's do the Middle East first, guys, because I want to talk about that. Oh god, I don't need that right now. So first one I've got for you guys, obviously the conflict obviously taking place. So I have a video about Keir Starmer, and I have a video coming out. I think it's tomorrow. It'll come out for non-members, but it's already available for members now. Keir Starmer's speech on what he's saying about condemning Iran and the missile attacks. But it's very the hypocrisy is quite crazy, because he's condemning Iran and their missile attacks, yet there's no condemnation for the missile attacks by Israel into Lebanon, where many civilians have lost their lives. There's no sympathy whatsoever for the Lebanese, for innocent civilians there at all. It's pure hypocritical there. And this whole stand with Israel is not washing well with everyone. And Zara Sultan here with it says the UK poll shows that 84% of the public think Netanyahu should be arrested if he comes to the UK. 67% think Israel has committed war crimes, and 56% support blocking all arms sale to Israel here. And this is she's been someone who has always been has constantly talked about this major issue here.
Because when we look at seats where the Labour Party lost, whether that's Leicester South, whether it is in Bristol Central, the issues that I was hearing on the door, and many of my colleagues also heard on the door, were concerns about the Labour Party's position on Gaza. They also want the party to be committed to no privatisation in the NHS and supporting workers' rights. So when we look at where there's pressure coming from reform, it's really important to look at the pressure that's also coming from left parties as well.
Obviously, he's talking about the other topics, obviously, that Labour needs to challenge there. But obviously, the main one, obviously, is, as we're talking about here, is about, obviously, the fragility of what's happening in Gaza here. Speaking at the UN here, Algeria calling this out for what it is here.
Our inaction has effectively granted Israel carte blanche to continue its rampage in Gaza, in West Bank, carte blanche to escalate against Lebanon and pursue the bloody agenda of death and destruction.
And I agree with him, because there's no accountability to Israel right now. There's no accountability to this government. There's no accountability to what they are doing. They're being allowed to just continue to do what they do with no impediment, basically nobody doing anything about it, allowing them to keep carte blanche continuously in this. It's 100% true. I'm going to come to this video in a minute. This is a brilliant video on it as well. I thought this was a great one here on LBC, I think here. Raji Shabini and Ian Dale disagree over whether Israel's motivations justify the epic loss of life across Middle East here. It's an interesting one, and I have to say, Ian Dale, oh God, I mean, I know he's a staunch conservative, but he's nowhere near on the right levels when it comes to this stuff, guys.
We have an Israeli government that is out of control. You know, I mean, it's hard to look at this situation and not see that Israel is being the irrational actor in this.
How is it irrational? I mean, they had to respond, surely, to the Hezbollah rockets that were being fired over. They've done it in a very different way than they did in Gaza. It seems to be much more targeted. They couldn't have just sat back and done nothing, could they?
Well, the targets, they hit a lot of civilian targets. A lot of the targets were around civilians. And there were lots of civilian casualties. Where was the condemnation from the West over the condemnation of the innocents in all of this? Yes, Hezbollah, I understand Israel's right to defend itself, but where was everyone condemns what happened on October the 7th. Where's the condemnation for the innocent lives that the innocent lives have been lost at the hands of Israel? There's none. Radio silence.
I don't think anything that you just said is true. I think it's, of course, Israeli citizens should be able to go and live in the north where 60,000 have been evacuated. Of course, that's obvious. The question is, how do you go about that? Israel's pager attacks on Lebanon were, even according to a former CIA head, an act of terror.
Yeah, because I actually agree with this statement, because here's the thing: there's nothing that's stating that is perfectly suitable or okay to use such underhanded tactics, shall we say, against your so-called enemies. Yes, of course, Hezbollah and Lebanon are enemies. Hezbollah and Israel are enemies. We know that. But you can't tell me that attack did not cost civilian lives, that civilians were not killed in it, because there was reports of innocents that were killed in those attacks. Yes, they targeted lots of Hezbollah targets, but civilians were caused innocent death. And in any wars, any conflicts, we obviously we don't want any wars and conflicts at all. But the level of innocent lives that have been lost under the hands of Israel, what Israel have done, have been nothing short of outrageous. And the UN is well aware of that, and the most of the world is aware of the world is aware of that. Most nations recognise that publicly, but the ones who stand behind Israel know it publicly, but know it privately. But won't say anything publicly about it.
The invasion.
They were targeted at Hezbollah terrorists.
That was not a targeted attack.
Yes, it was. They were all of the pages.
Well, if you're going to keep interrupting me, I'm not going to be able to actually say anything. And then you look at taking out Hassan Nasrallah.
Oh, you have to just bear in mind here, because this is an LBC clips, you don't actually get to hear everything as well. So I take so it's this painting their narrative a little bit LBC, because obviously they're a bit more Israel bias because of how they got rid of a certain LBC presenter not too long ago. Let's not forget that.
Which was just an epic bombardment, use of bombs in civilian areas that are...
Their headquarters were under the building that was bombed.
I don't care. It doesn't justify that epic loss of life. This is a civilian area in the middle of a large functioning city, just like any other large functioning city. You do not get to pulverize and terrorize innocent people like that.
Well, surely you should be condemning Hezbollah from having their headquarters in that kind of area.
But where does that end? One could condemn the British Army for having its headquarters in Downing Street. It's a ridiculous argument. You cannot go after civilians in the way that Israel just did.
She's absolutely right. Made Ian Dale look like a complete plonker with that one. He really did not think very clearly when he made those questions. But yeah, absolutely on the right side of the conversation there, without a shadow of a doubt. Giles says civilians are dying, lives are being destroyed. The hostages are probably dead by now, and Israel knows this, and Israel does not stop. And you look and smile. Good evening, Simon says 55. Hope you're doing well. Aaron Bassasani from Navarra Media here. Obviously, he was talking on GB News here. I think this is quite an interesting about UK's position really on this, which is quite interesting. And I think he's and when he goes on to GB News, he really does hold back his actual feelings because our feelings about this. He really lets out a lot more, shall we say, on Navarra Media than he does on here, and that's probably just so that he can keep his position. But let's hear what he had to say and what they're saying here on this.
Well, I think the British public, broadly speaking, doesn't really mind if our armed forces are getting involved in minor conflicts where they're not really massively in harm's way. You know, we're not looking at dozens or hundreds of casualties, and it's relatively quick, and the objectives are very, very clear. The problem is when none of that is the case, as we see in, for instance, Afghanistan. The objectives weren't clear, we lose hundreds of service personnel, we spend a great deal of taxpayer money. And I suppose if you were to say, look, if that's the end game for the conflict in Ukraine, people have a very different view than if it's just selling or giving arms to Kyiv. So it's a really difficult one, and I think my baseline is this. As I've said, we should not be spending money on war, but as a rule, there will be exceptions, of course, but we should not be spending money on war overseas when we have so many problems. We have so many problems in this country. I mean, I've said it before.
But here's the thing, right? I understand where he's coming from on this, but you can say that the same about Ukraine as well. Then, if you're saying that about, you know, us stopping and reducing weapons and arms to Israel, then we're saying the same thing about Ukraine. Is what the implementation is. I mean, do we want to stop support? I mean, is it like, do we want to stop supporting Ukraine because we are one of its biggest contributors there? Now, as for Israel, obviously we're one of its lowest contributors, but I think that's a question that's worth pointing out there.
Before, and it's something actually when I say it, I often get people from the right of politics saying, I agree. We need to be thinking like a developing country. How do we get cheap energy? How do we start making cheap steel? How do we start creating cheap housing? This is the bread and butter that our political class should now be focusing on. It's really important.
Yes, they are all very important, but the problem is we don't have politicians in government or previous government that think about these cheap and bread and butter issues, the basic issues of these things. At least that's the impression we've been having since Labour have said some things, but they haven't really done a lot as far as I'm aware. Tory Taser, good to see you there. Israel doesn't care about civilian life, as we can see it with their actions, regardless of the reason behind it. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons I believe that's one of the argument points I made in my video coming out tomorrow.
That's beyond left and right. Yeah. But I think too much of our political class, and let's zone out from this one particular conflict, too much of our political class likes to pretend it's still the 1920s. We still have an empire that spans 1/4 of the Earth's surface, and
there are definitely politicians who still think that.
They get to feel important. And I think that's a broader point I'd want to say beyond just Russia, Ukraine, or Palestine, Israel, Iran.
For the sake of argument, one can concede all the points Aaron makes about need at home and still seek to assist our friends abroad rather than leaving them in the lurch in their hour of need. But the last point, that it's not the days of empire, it's just bizarre, because the desire to talk Britain down as just we can't do anything in the world is richly demonstrated as false by the fact that we do export some weaponry to Israel and we do some things to help them.
We haven't done since we've lost the influence we've had. We lost a lot more influence since we left the European Union. We definitely don't have the same strengths that we used to have since being outside the European Union. And we had a Conservative government slagging off the EU a lot as well, which was not helping our position, upsetting the United States over the Good Friday Agreement as well. So we're not. So we've definitely, while we are still one of the top nations on the planet, we've definitely fallen down that pecking order.
Under this bombardment,
we export barely any. 99% of Israeli military imports come from Germany and the US.
Yeah, and we can well up that. Let's try and increase that percentage.
Why? Why would you want to increase it? Why do we need to increase it? There's no incentive for us to increase it. Do you really want to upset? Do you really want to piss off more people here in the UK? Do you want to upset more people? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to? You know, it's already bad enough that people don't like the fact that even 1% or less than 1% of our weapons and arms are going to Israel. It's not right in any way, shape or form. We're still a part of this, whether we like it or not. As long as we are contributing something towards Israel and what they are doing, we are still part of this act and what they are doing. Why is that? Hold on, I need to change my chat because not all messages are appearing. A dictator who has been convicted of corruption and sexual assault is committing genocide with complete support of Britain and the United States. Good morning, Steve McMorland. Thank you for that comment.
Let's help them as best we can.
Well, they make great weapons. I mean, the thing is, Israel makes great drones, actually. You know,
So
they don't need us.
You want us to be providing more weaponry?
I would love us to provide both more weaponry and support material to Israel and to fly more sorties for as long as it takes to ensure that their skies are safe from terrorist missiles.
Yeah, because obviously we don't have problems here in the UK. It's not like we don't have a cost of living crisis. It's not like we need money for the NHS. It's not like people are struggling to get by. It's not like we have destitute child poverty right now. It's not like we have a problem with our police force. It's not like we have, you know, more food banks than McDonald's. It's not like we have any of these issues plus more. You know, it's not like we've got any of these problems. Yeah, let's give more money to Israel because fund more weapons and arms to Israel because that's definitely what the British public would definitely back. You know, this guy's an absolute idiot.
Being lobbed into them. And what I can't understand is why Israel and Israel alone is expected for some sort of realpolitik lessons by people sitting around tables like this one to just put up with it. Hundreds of missiles.
This idiot This idiot is obviously a pro-Israeli for this government. This idiot has either he doesn't know what's going on, or he knows exactly what's going on, and he's narrating a different picture here. Does he not know about the children that have been killed as a result? The amount of children and women, the innocents that have been lost inside Gaza? Does he know about the atrocities that have been causing inside the West Bank? Let alone what's been happening in Lebanon recently. Or how about the Israeli soldiers raping the Palestinian or Hamas prisoner? How about that? Does he condemn that? Has he condemned that? He probably hasn't.
Fired at a country, and there are some pundits who genuinely say, well, you know, in the interest of regional stability, they shouldn't respond. What, at all? To 200 ballistic...
No one is saying that. Give me names of people who are saying they should not respond. Give me a name of someone who has not done that. Yeah, I think this guy needs to shut up, if I'm honest. This is a really good piece here. So in 1982, Ronald Reagan phoned the Prime Minister of Israel and told him to stop bombing Beirut or US-Israel relations would be endangered. You have not used that leverage. And Miller makes the argument that every country makes its own decision. And Tom says Reagan did stop the bombing. Begin stopped. Begin stopped it 20 minutes later. So 20 minutes after that phone call Ronald Reagan had in 1982 to Israel to tell them to stop the bombing, they stopped it. Just imagine what a phone call like that would be. And here's the problem: that Israel has too much influence on the US government. It's not the other way around. They have too much influence within the US government.
Diary entry for August the 12th, 1982 describes how he phoned Prime Minister Begin of Israel and told him to stop bombing Beirut or the US-Israel relationship would be endangered. I mean, to the accusation that you have simply not used leverage to get what you want, what do you say to that? And bearing in mind some precedents like that.
So there have been a number of times over the course of this conflict where direct U.S. intervention with the government of Israel has led them to take steps that they were not previously doing, to take steps when it comes to humanitarian access, to take steps with regards to the shape of their military operations.
You mean the same humanitarian access that Israel still continues to block off, gives a little bit but then shuts it off again, gives a little bit and then shuts it off again? You're not making sure that access is staying open all the time for those who are struggling and needy inside Gaza. Yeah, is that what you're talking about there?
I'm not going to speak to all those publicly. Some of them have been reported over time. But I do think it is often simplistic to reduce the calculus of other countries, to reduce the understanding of what's happening to the bilateral relationship between any two countries.
What he's trying to get at, and obviously you're too stupid to understand this, or you know exactly what he's talking about and you don't want to mention it, is that you have the power to actually do something about this. You have the power to save lives and stop this. Your administration can stop this. Yeah, if you threaten to take away Israel's weapons, if you threaten to take away Israel's support, if you threaten to take away things that Israel needs, they will stop. They will stop what they are doing. Because they know that they are absolutely screwed if they lose support from America. But we know that Israel has far too much influence in both political parties in the US, which is a big problem.
Every country in this region is a sovereign country that makes their own decisions based on their interest.
So what about the intervention in 1982 then? What about that then? You know, so obviously America, who made a difference to people's lives in 1982, that single phone call that stopped bombings, that saved lives. You know, what about saving lives, stopping people dying? Is that not the humane thing, the right thing to do here?
Was true before October 7th. That remains true. The United States will continue to work to advance its own interests. Will continue to work to.
We know you're advancing America's interests. We know that.
Advance peace, advance stability in the region, but ultimately, all of the countries in the region, this includes Israel, this includes other countries, make their own decisions. They're responsible for their own decisions. They're responsible for the consequences of those decisions. Yeah,
and you have a chance yet, and you supposed to be the so-called leaders of the free world, also have always bared responsibility for some of the actions and consequences that the United States of America has done in the past as well, and you don't bear real responsibility for your own actions because of your giant military and influence you have all along the world. You have a chance to save lives and you choose not to. It's a political choice. You are choosing to side with Israel on this when you know that what they are doing is completely disgusting, outrageous, and it should be called out.
I mean, Reagan did stop the bombing. Begin stopped it 20 minutes later.
Now, I think
that's embarrassing. He's literally pointing it out, like how a president can literally stop this at the swipe of a phone call. Biden can pick up the phone and threaten Netanyahu, but he won't.
We have made.
I would love it if Kamala Harris was to pick up the phone and actually do this and make the same similar threat, but she won't do that.
Clear on a number of occasions with the government of Israel what we believe, and there have been times when our intervention has led to direct action by the government of Israel. There are times when they have disagreements with us, and by the way, that was true in the Reagan administration too. There's no administration that you look back through history will tell you that they have a perfect record in influencing any other country's behavior or decision making.
That's not the point. Of course, everybody has in every single government, every single relationship has agreements and disagreements. That's perfectly normal. It's perfectly human for governments to have disagreements. No one's going to get along with each other with every single point. I've had disagreements with people in the chat on things. It's perfectly normal to have that. What the journalist is pointing out here, and what he's failing to acknowledge, is that the president of the United States of America, has more than enough influence, more than enough power to stop Israel what they are doing. It is a political choice what they are doing. That's what this is. It's a political choice. Kevin Maguire this morning. This is an interesting comments here from him.
People will be saying, right, it's perfectly legitimate and the right thing to do to shoot down missiles to save lives. And this case, it was Iranian missiles fired at Israel. But others will say there are Israeli missiles killing innocent civilians, children and women in Lebanon and in Gaza. Why don't we shoot down those missiles? I've heard that argument put.
Yeah, why not? Why do we not protect lives? Why are we not, why do we value Israeli lives more than Palestinian lives, by Lebanese lives? Why are we valuing one section of people over another here? Is it based off their nationality? Is it based off their religion? What's the reason? The West is obviously prioritizing one section of people's lives over another. There's no excuse for the US and America to make. This is a great point here. There's no excuse for it. If all human life should be treated equally and valued equally, but we are clearly not doing it with regards to what's happening in the Middle East.
It is an ongoing debate. I think defensive military action is legitimate, but why do we defend some people and not others? If every life matters, if a Lebanese life matters, if a Palestinian life matters, and then Israeli lives definitely matter, why do we take a side and we use military action to stop some people being killed but not others?
Because and you can tell that the guy on the left obviously disagrees. He doesn't think that I don't care what his opinion is, really, to be fair, because we know Kevin Maguire there speaks more common sense. It's absolutely bang on the money there. It really is. Once people's lives, all human lives should be treated the same. All human life should be sacred, protected, regardless. And I'm not calling for a ceasefire anymore. I'm going to use the term peace. I'm calling for peace in the Middle East. Is what I want to start calling it now. Before I show you the last TikTok clip, I want to show you this brilliant, Piers Morgan made to look like an idiot on his show, and anytime Piers Morgan looks bad on his show is always a good thing. Martin Brisk, thank you so much for the 20 gifted memberships, my friend. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good week so far. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I don't like the fact it doesn't tell me who got gifted memberships. That sucks there. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. Steve McMorran says, that's exactly it, Regan. These people who support Israel say the lives of Palestinians and Lebanese people are worthless. Yeah, because they don't condemn the airstrikes. They don't condemn the actions of what Israel are doing. But they condemn any kind of atrocities or attacks on Israeli citizens. But they don't say anything about Lebanese or Palestinians at all. At all. They see them indifferently. All human life matters. All human life matters. Let's listen to this takedown from Loki on Piers Morgan. This is a good one.
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
What's it got to do with me?
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
This has never been shown on British media. This is a letter from Netanyahu's political office. And Bridget may well recognise the handwriting of Benjamin Netanyahu here. It is a list of individuals that Netanyahu...
You notice here that Talk TV are deliberately not showing the paper to the camera as well.
...who considered to be funders of his political campaign. There is a name on this list. The name is Rupert Murdoch. Your employer.
You know what, Loki?
It seems he funded Benjamin Netanyahu. That's an issue.
You know what, Loki? It's not an issue.
It's not only is it an issue, it's called something that I've been screaming about lately with regards to Labour and their gifts and donations. It's called conflict of interest. It's a conflict of interest right there. And people wonder why they hate Rupert Murdoch.
Issue for me.
It's an issue, and actually it's in the interest of objectivity that you stated.
Absolutely, well said. It's because now that people, if you see, I'm glad he pointed this out, because Rupert Murdoch is your employer, and you're trying to paint a certain narrative, and by Loki pointing this out, we know that they will never show this clip of him pointing this out. But obviously, they will edit this clip out. They will edit this part out because they don't want people to know this. Because we know that even though it's uncensored, they try to censor certain parts of any clips and whatnot that works in their interests. But this takedown is really good because, especially people who are watching it live, because they're watching it live, obviously, then it's like, even though there's some people, obviously, who may support Israel, but maybe to condemn the deaths and whatnot, makes them question Piers Morgan, makes them question Talk TV, because obviously he's putting it right there in front of people. Hey, this is what you're, why are you accepting money from Israel, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here? Don't you think that's a problem?
Rupert Murdoch can speak for himself.
Oh yeah. I'm just going to go and speak to Rupert Murdoch about this.
You've got a problem with him? Take it up with him.
I do.
I can tell you categorically, he has never had a single conversation with me about anything I've put on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
I wonder how much money Piers Morgan has been given. Do you think Piers Morgan might have been given some money by certain people as well to say certain things or go along certain lines? What do you guys think?
Sam kindly resigned from the Times newspaper because of Murdoch's investments and bias towards Israel. This document, this letter, clearly shows Benjamin Netanyahu noting Rupert Murdoch, considering him to be a funder of his political campaign.
And this is where Piers Morgan tries to pivot.
Rapper,
That's an issue.
You're a rapper. You condemn P. Diddy?
Yes.
Great. You see how easy it is?
What's P. Diddy got to do with this conversation?
You take it out of your obsession, which is that you hate Israel so much you can't condemn anything that people do to them.
We see the situation differently.
Not really.
My loyalty is to the people.
I agree with you a lot more. I agree with you a lot more than you realise.
I view myself as loyal to the people of the camps, to the people under the bombs. I do not view myself as loyal to somebody that would end up on a list of potential funders of Benjamin Netanyahu.
I wonder if Piers Morgan has ever condemned Israel for the lives that for the lives that have been lost as a result of some of the bombings that they have caused inside Gaza. I wonder if he's ever done that. Do you think he's ever done that? I'm not wasting my. I don't give much time to Piers Morgan, and certainly don't give barely any time to GB News because they paint a narrative, paint a picture that's not right in my not a fair picture in any sort of way. So the last clip before we switch away from the Middle East, guys. This is a wonderful takedown. I'm a Jew, and here are some things I would like to say to the state of Israel. Woo!
I'm a Jew, and here are some of the things that I would like to say to the state of Israel. 1. Get the fuck out of Palestine. Get out. Get out. Stop the ethno-nationalist project. Leave them alone. 2. What are you doing with a ground invasion into Lebanon? What are you doing? Leave Yemen alone. Stop trying to carve up Syria. Your kids are not more important than their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Your atrocities are not going to be forgiven by some higher power. Your politics do nothing to keep global Jewry any safer. Your manipulation tactics, like Darvo, are absolutely transparent. Your Hasbara, your propaganda arm, is failing. You really wanting to have something doesn't actually make you entitled to that thing. That is perpetrator psychology. Your attempts to use the legacy of the Holocaust, the legacy of my family, to justify the kinds of evils that you are committing right now is inexcusable. And young Jewish folks the world over know that that is what you're doing. You are weaponizing our parents and our aunties and uncles and our grandparents' trauma in order to justify your violence. It's despicable. We are done with you telling us that everyone hates us, and we are done with your attempts at emotional and psychological manipulation. You're embarrassing yourself.
It is. Well, very well said. Absolute brilliant. Absolute brilliant from a absolute brilliant takedown. You know, it's just absolute. Yeah, it's just infuriating, guys. Absolutely infuriating. Rupert Murdoch doesn't speak to himself. He employs people like Piers Morgan to speak for him, says Steve McMahon. Yeah, it does. I hope it works this time. Last time I got 3 days later my money back from Google. Don't know why. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's very weird, Martin. That worries me a little bit. This is why I always say I'm on the side of civilians when someone asks me my position, Steve McMahon. I think he does 8 to 3, but he takes the 5 money anyway, says Tory. Don't get tasered. Do I play Dungeons and Dragons? No, I do not. I don't understand why it's so hard for them just to point out how every piece of even mildly populist economic legislation is always untoughly opposed by Republicans in Congress, and it's just absurd for them to press they'll do anything for the poor and the working class, Ginger Jam says. Are you British? Yes, I am British. Thanks for your comments, guys. Let's switch away from from Middle East. If we get time, we'll cover the VP debate because I do want to talk about it if we get time. But I want to cover some of the clips from some of the debates today and yesterday. And I want to start with Tom Tugendhat, or Tom with no hat, here. With some of these clips here. So the first, so I got a couple. So Implausible Blogs got uploaded a bunch of clips, obviously, from Tom Tugendhat, James Cleverly, Not So Cleverly, Robert Dumbass Gemrick, and Kemi the Crazy Bacchanal. So first one that got here from Tom Tugendhat. We all know that this country cannot afford labour, and you can clearly see it says there the national debt at in 2010 was 1 trillion. In 2024, it's now 2.7 trillion.
We all know that this country cannot afford labour. You can't afford labour. I can't afford labour. Lord Ali can't afford labour.
That's his first silly comment. Here's the next one.
So as Labour's mandate evaporates before our very eyes, we need to be ready. As your leader, I will rebuild CCHQ from the ground up, putting you back at the heart of our party. So as Labour...
Yeah, just, yeah, he's going to build the party back up, guys. He's definitely going to build it back up. We need the best healthcare in Australia, across Europe. They have better healthcares and better access to doctors. It's not about money. Hold on a second.
And for our families to stay fit, you know it. We need the best healthcare. In Australia, across Europe, they have better cancer outcomes and better access to doctors.
I wonder who is responsible for reducing our doctors, reducing our nurses, reduces our cancer rate. I wonder who is responsible for making our national healthcare service so bad. I wonder who was responsible for that. Can't quite put my finger on it. I wonder who was responsible for that, Tom. Do you know who?
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Are you serious?
Health service is not the envy of the world. Our doctors and our nurses are fantastic, but the bureaucrats in charge slowed down their ability to deliver.
You were the government. Your political party was the government for 14 years. You were the ones who turned what was considered one of the best healthcare services on the planet. It was deemed one of the best healthcare services on the planet. The NHS, the National Healthcare Service. You guys screwed it up. There's no bureaucracy. It all changed. The graphs of that. I've shared these graphs on the. On the channel before. You guys took funding away from the NHS. The NHS always gets worse with you guys in charge. It always has. It always has.
It's not about money.
It's not about money. Well, you guys have taken money away, and clearly it's gotten worse. We'll get to Robert Jenrick in a bit, but Tom Duggan absolutely shreds Robert Jenrick for saying special forces were killing people because of the ECHR. I've covered this in a video that's probably going to drop either tomorrow or Friday. It's already available for members now, but let's hear Tom's response to this, because Robert Jenrick making some kind of claim that special forces are now killing more people because we're part of the European Courts of Human Rights doesn't make any sense for me, right? So I'm just going to put this logic in your head, right? So the ECHR is the European Convention on Human Rights, right? Human rights, yeah? And Robert Jenrick is saying that is claiming that special forces are killing more people because of the European Convention of Human Rights.
Robert Jenrick has just stood behind his comments about special forces in the hall just now. What do you make of that?
Look, I have served alongside many of our brave men and women in our armed forces. Let me be absolutely clear. Our armed forces obey the law. They obey the law of armed conflict, and they do not conduct extrajudicial actions. I'm afraid the suggestions that they would demonstrates a fundamental lack of awareness of military operations, the command chain, and the nature of the law in the armed forces. I spoke to a recently retired director of special forces this morning, and I can just tell you a lot of people are extremely disappointed with the suggestions that they may be acting in ways that are not compatible with the values and standards of the British Armed Forces. That would be a terrible suggestion to make, and suggest that somebody does not understand the armed forces of the United Kingdom. This is a very serious accusation, and if you do not have evidence, please do not make it.
Pretty brutal from Tom Tugendhat there. Obviously, someone who worked in the who served in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. So he obviously knows what it's like to work in the army. So for him, it's a lot more. It's a very personal attack from him on that one. So let's hear from Robert Jenrick. How do you think he got? How do you guys think he did at the? How do you guys think he did when it came to the speeches on there? Do you think he was inspiring? Do you think he's worthy of being being the next prime minister? I'll let you guys decide. WCF Rachel Reeves as Wooden as Pinocchio, Ed Miliband as Wallace missing in Gromit, And David Lammy is proof there is more annoying LBC presenter than James O'Brien. I have a disagreement with James O'Brien, but yeah, I just nice little shots, but yeah.
What about our new cabinet? Well, Rachel Reeves, as wooden as Pinocchio, and only barely more honest. And then we've got Ed Miliband. Whoever tells you the grown-ups are back in charge, look at Ed Miliband. A Wallace missing his grommet. And then, there's David Lammy, our Foreign Secretary. Living proof that there is a more annoying LBC presenter than James O'Brien.
Remember, these people, you have to remember, this is the Conservative Conference, so the audience are cuckoo. I mean, they're nice little funny digs, but yeah, God. This guy could very well be the opposition leader. We need to detain and deport everyone who comes to our country illegal. It's impossible unless we yield the European Convention on Human Rights. And free ourselves from Tony Blair's Human Rights Act. Tony Blair
is to detain and swiftly deport everyone who comes into our country illegally. But we will never do that. We will never do that. It is impossible unless we leave the European Convention on Human Rights.
Yes, let's do it. Let's take away British human rights. Let's take away their damn human rights. And when we do, we'll take away their holiday pay. We'll take away their maternity pay because obviously Kemi's already stated that it's too out of control. Let's take all this state pay away from them and make everything go through the private sector. Let's take it all away from them. That's the road they want to go down.
And we free ourselves from Tony Blair's Human Rights Act.
Another crazy one.
I am for finishing the job that we started with Brexit and restoring to our people and our parliament its sovereignty. So under my leadership, the new Conservative Party will stand for a new Great Reform Act, one that leaves the ECHR, repeals Tony Blair's Human Rights Act and writes a British Bill of Rights. That is how. That is how, my friends, that is the only way that we get the foreign terrorists, the criminals, off our streets and out of our country. That is the only way that together we will end illegal migration for good.
It's almost as if, yeah, they've forgotten that they were in power for 14 years. It's almost as if they've completely forgotten that they had control in the first place. It's almost like it's just swooped over their heads, like they've just completely forgotten. Absolutely cuckoo. This guy could very well be the next Conservative leader. David Gerardo, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. The accent is very dope. Well, there might be a tange bit of Irish to the accent, Dunscan, but thank you for that. Because I am part Irish, but I am born and raised in England. Mass migration is not making us richer; it's putting immense pressure on our housing, our hospitals, and our roads. I'm gonna get to the comments when he says them.
And the age of mass migration, that must end too. It's not making us any richer.
Let me explain why it's not making any of us richer. Because while they're forced to sit in hotels and barges that you had them in, or certain asylum centers while they're waiting for their process to be claimed, what they could be doing, instead of actually being paid off by the taxpayer, they could actually be working. They could actually be doing some kind of job. While they wait for their asylum claim to be processed, they could actually be contributing to the British economy. But instead, we're going to fund it out of taxpayer money instead. Your government decided to change that. That was your government that decided to do that.
It's putting immense pressure on our housing, our hospitals, our roads, and if we're honest.
And you guys have been in charge for 14 years. Why haven't you done all your problems? Everything, all the Conservatives can say and this is what really really infuriates me about the Conservatives. They're not even sorry about what happened in the last 14 years. They're just saying everything is because of immigration. Yeah, everything is because of immigration. Well, you guys had all the power. You had Parliament. You had the laws. You had the government. You had governments to deal with this, and you didn't deal with it. You didn't deal with any of it. And here you are saying, I'm going to deal with this. You guys had the control, and you screwed up with it.
With ourselves. The sheer scale and the lack of integration is sapping at our culture and our national cohesion.
What is our British culture? Can you explain it, Robert?
If I am your leader, I will fight for the effective freeze in net migration our country needs. And this time, we will cast it in iron. We will do it with a vote in Parliament, so that each and every...
Yeah, do you really think yeah, because if you have a majority, obviously, you'll be able to pass it through easily. But you're not... Yeah, I mean, Nigel Farage would rather leave it to let it do another blooming referendum.
Every one of us can look the British public in the eye and say, we mean it. We're going to do it this time. And if we do that, we give our country the effective breathing space that we need. Will we be open to the best and the brightest? Yes, absolutely. Will we be open to the world and its wife and all their extended family? No, not anymore. And under my Conservative Party, never, ever again.
Absolutely crazy. They are. Genric's EU funds to build roads the UK received and payback was used to pave the entrance to Tory donor mansions. Yep, definitely feels that way, that's for sure. This man is crazy. The UK needs desperately immigration. What is he talks about? Yeah, I know. We desperately need migration. But they think that we have too much migration. Well, the problem is that we don't have a British workforce, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to charge up my... the Twitch, so I can see my other device, so I can see the Twitch chat. The best and the brightest will pick your fruit. Well, you know, Jonathan Gullis there's still jobs for fruit picking if Jonathan Gullis still can't find a job, you know. Another one here.
We are the lucky inheritors of unparalleled national identities. British, Welsh, Scottish, Northern Irish.
Hold on a second. Robert, was there any Conservative Welsh MPs there at the conference? Can you confirm that? Was there any what about Northern Irish MPs? Were there any Conservative Northern Ireland MPs there? Were there any there? Can you confirm that? Oh no. Oh, what happened? Oh, right. The Conservatives got wiped out in Wales. Oh, right. And as for Northern Ireland, oh, they don't have any MPs there. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, sorry for bringing that up.
English. And our new Conservative Party will stand for...
New Conservative Party. You're still... New Conservative Party. So this is the thing. They're branding themselves as new. He's branding himself as new. They're new whatsoever. But he was part of the previous establishment. He was part of the last previous Conservative government. He was part of the group that have damaged and harmed the UK in total. The British public, yes, the British public did. There was still quite a huge chunk of the supporters for the Conservatives. But they're not that thick. They haven't forgotten about... They voted you out because of what you guys did, what you left the state of the UK as a whole in. And you guys are not changing anything about you. You're just claiming that it's all immigrants, it's all something else. You're not stating anything else. You're just saying the same old rhetoric. Now you're just sitting on the outside. It's a piss poor of an opposition is what this is.
Carrying the torch for these identities and handing it on to our children and our grandchildren with pride, with passion, and with purpose.
And yet he still can't tell us what English identity is.
And finally, we must stand for our nation and our culture, for our identity.
And yet he can't tell us what our culture and identity is.
And our way of life. Why is it that so much of the British establishment seems to put Britain last?
You were part of the British establishment for 14 goddamn years. This is the same rhetoric that comes out of the Republicans. The elite, the establishment. It's all the elites. They were literally the establishment. They were literally a part of it.
I'm told that we only have enough munitions to last a few weeks in war. And yet our country is giving foreign aid to parts of the world richer than our own.
Oh yes, let's cut foreign aid budget so we'd have less influence in the world. What a great bloody idea that is, given that we already have hampered our trade, yeah, thanks to being outside of the Europe, outside of the single market. Let's hamper our influence, yeah, with other countries by cutting foreign aid, because some of that foreign aid actually goes to nations that need it. Some of it does go towards bribery and influence as well. Let's cut that and let's have less influence in the world, because that's what's going to happen if you cut that foreign aid. That money, if they cut foreign aid, will not go into public services or anything. It'll just go to suit their means.
So if I am your leader, I will stand for cutting our bloated foreign aid budget and for spending 3% of GDP on our defence.
Yeah, because defence is a massive importance right now. Not the cost of living crisis, not child poverty. Not them. No. Defence is very important, guys.
Finally doing what government is meant to do. The first duty of any government. Keep the British people safe.
Oh, you're doing a great job. You've done 14 years of a great job of keeping them safe, haven't you? 14 years of doing a great job of keeping them safe. Yeah, let's move on from Robert Jenrick and let's listen to James Not So Cleverly. Here, his first bit here. I hadn't planned to run for leader.
I hadn't planned to run for leader.
So why did you then? Why didn't you? Why did you? If you hadn't planned it, why did you do it? Yeah, have you got any? Have you so the other two we haven't heard very clear what they're going to do. Can you, James, considering your surname is Cleverly, have you got some clever policies that would actually enable and make us better on? Can you?
I could have taken the easy option, sat this one out, spent more time with my wife, with my boys, with my Warhammer figures.
I've got as someone who actually is a bit of a fan of Warhammers. I would have gone with the latter and said, James, you should have spent more time with your Warhammer figures. I'm gonna say, mate, you really should have spent more time with them. This has got to be one of the bizarre things that he says. It says in one of his speeches.
Let's be enthusiastic, relatable, positive, optimistic. Let's be more normal.
That's funny. I don't remember this. I don't remember this positivity, this so-called normal from the Conservatives. It's like all of a sudden, now that they don't have the reins, that they feel like that they can do anything, that everything is all good for them. What is your definition of normal, James?
Let's sell the benefits of conservatism with a smile.
A fake smile.
Because if we do, yes.
A fake smile, guys. Let's sell it with a fake smile. We promise, yeah, we're going to make lives better for you. Vote Conservative. Be proud of our record.
Don't let anyone trash our record. Be proud of our record.
And what is their record in time in government, apart from, as it says here on the screen, food banks between 2010 35 to 2024 to 2,871, which means more food banks than McDonald's, more than double there of McDonald's to food banks there. Look, we're not far off from reaching 3,000 if we keep it going. Is that something that they can be proud of? We can be proud that we've pushed privatisation in the NHS. Can they be proud of that they've got Brexit done? Is that something they can also be proud of? What do you guys think? Do you think they're proud of what they've done? They've made their mates, they've made their donors, they've made their mates richer, more enhanced, and they've all gotten away with it with no accountability whatsoever, no criminality whatsoever. They've all made themselves better off, richer off. They made the wealthy better off. And lots of children have died of poverty. I'm sure they're proud of that one as well. Goes after reform here, James Cleverly.
And reform can't. They're just a pale imitation of our great party. It is up to us. And never forget, reform didn't deliver Brexit, we did. Reform didn't cut immigration, I did.
He cut immigration, guys. What do you guys think? Do you think he cut immigration? Did immigration go down under James Cleverly? Or was it something to do with the weather? I'll let you guys figure that one out.
And mark my words, we will beat reform by being the best version of ourselves, not a pale version of anyone else. So no mergers, no deals.
Well, as long as it keeps the vote split, I suppose. I mean, cool, I guess. I mean, I don't want Conservatives and Reform to unite, because if they do, I do feel that they would have enough votes to get back for the Conservatives to get back in some kind of power. I would not want to see a coalition between the Conservatives and Reform in any way, shape or form. Yeah, let's not hear any more clapping. That's just, I know it's annoying everyone. Farage and Starmer are two sides of the same coin. Do you think they're two sides of the same coin? Answers on a postcard.
Farage and Starmer are two sides of the same coin. They both think that life was better in the past. Farage thinks life was better before we joined the EU. Starmer thinks it was better before we left. And they're both wrong. Our best days are ahead of us.
Our best days are ahead of us as long as we keep Conservatives out of power. Our best days are ahead of us. I know that will upset all the people who are not fans of Labour. let me put it this way, okay? Better days will come. There are problems with Labour, and I've pointed them out on numerous occasions. But they are a hell of a lot better than you guys have been, and 14 years speaks for itself. Speaks for itself.
We got Boris elected and we got Brexit done. And
celebrating the two greatest disasters to hit this country is not the best look. All right, that's enough of him. The most how can I describe Kemi? Batshit crazy, nutty, a bit clueless, so inspiring. What an Steve McMahon. Yesterday I saw a very interesting documentary on Channel 4 about children's homelessness on YouTube, says David. Yeah, there's lots of documentaries and that on YouTube. It's not it's sad to find that stuff. But yeah, when the likes of Channel 4 or mainstream media covers it. It really paints a wider picture to the British public of what's going on. We will beat reform by being more racist than they are, says Stephen Moore. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to out-reform because they actually think all their voters are in reform, when in fact, actually, that's not true. Some voters didn't bother voting. Some voters switched to reform. Some went to Labour. Some went to the Lib Dems. Just because you've lost all those voters just because you've lost voters does not mean they're all going to come from the same political party and vice versa. People change, people get older. Guess what? Their voter audience is dying off. You're seeing some of the younger Conservative voters. They're seeing nothing more as power grabbers, in my opinion. You know, and we saw it on Max's live stream. Some of the young Tory entrepreneurs and whatnot at this Tory conference, and I see them nothing more as opportunists. The same with some of the young Labour guys as well. Opportunists looking to take advantage, and they'll say whatever they want to say to get a slice of cake, to get a slice into power. That's how I see it. Yeah, to me. Anyway, let's start with the first one from Kemi here.
But in government, we did not always keep our promises.
That's right. You did not keep your promises. You didn't keep any of your promises. You guys were crap.
We promised to lower taxes. They went up.
So is that an acknowledgement of your failure as a government?
We promised to lower immigration. It went up.
So, that's funny. James cleverly said immigration went down under him. I wonder if she's telling the truth then. Sounds like she's telling the truth there. Are we getting an apology? No. Thank you for your acknowledgement that you can't trust what the Conservative Party says. Implausible blog on the ball as always. I don't really need to play the sound on this, but you can see here. Left Kimmy Baggenot says it's about people, their hopes, their aspirations. It's how we can help the poorest in society. And on the right here was Tories cutting universal credit despite secret warning it would push 3,000 kids into poverty. You can see literally the article right there saying to push 3,000 kids into poverty. And she's saying something different. Absolutely mind-boggling.
A new political force has risen. Something I have been fighting all my political career. Identity politics.
Yep, and it's from the Conservative Party because it came from the likes of UKIP, the BNP, and it's infiltrated the Conservative Party, and now you guys are suffering from it. And it's now infiltrating the Labour Party, if we haven't already seen it.
Like the 1970s, we face a battle of ideas against the left and its desire for ever greater social and economic control.
No, it's not about that. It's about giving back to the people. You want to take more away from the people. We want to give back to the people.
It is socialism returned. Socialism in a suit.
Sure, Kemi, sure. What else does the crazy woman has to say?
This new politics has made us afraid to defend the people who need us, like young Conservatives. They tell me they are afraid to share their politics with other students because they'll be attacked.
It's because they're fucking idiots, Kemi. That's why. It's because everyone is worse off in society as a result of Conservatives. Businesses have lost trust to the Conservatives because of what they have done. And the way they handled trade, the way they handled the TCA agreement, the way they handled the way they are dealing with trade with our European allies and partners that they had before. Your political party fucked that up and made it worse off, for trade and businesses. No wonder they're bloody pissed off with you guys because you never sorted it out. You kept kicking the can down the road. So that's on businesses, and then the average worker, they're not better off. They don't have more money in their pocket. Young people can't afford homes. Our NHS people can't afford to get the healthcare they need. Of course, there's anger and frustration among the Conservatives, and rightfully so. For young Conservatives, they are clearly being manipulated into thinking that the party is in good for them. There's not many young Conservatives because many of them are vilified for supporting such a horrible, nasty party that left the UK as a whole in the state that it is in. They have every right to feel angry about it. I don't agree in any way, shape or form that should be any assaults or abuses on anybody because of their political views. However, they deserve to be basically shouted back at if they're trying to justify whatsoever conservative politics on other people.
That they are marked down by lecturers because of their beliefs.
This is about suppression here from Kemi. So this is the intention here that Kemi is implying. And why is the screen gone? Screen gone like that? It's very weird. This is where basically she'll, saying this because of lectures. Basically, this is about suppressing certain speeches in university, schools, and colleges to make people think a certain way about politics.
We have let young conservatives down. We need to defend them, champion them, and give them a party they can be proud of.
Maybe some constructive policies and policies might be a good start, but that seems to be very hard to find at the moment. I wonder how many business leaders turned up to this conservative conference.
This stealthy poisoning of our society needs to stop. And let's face it, the Liberal Democrats are not going to defend our country. Unlike the left, we know right from wrong.
Really? You know right from wrong. You guys know right from wrong. 14 years speaks a very different thing. You know what? This is the thing. Hindsight really does come in handy, When you look back, it's very hard for people to buy into the Conservatives. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's lots of people who don't like Labour right now. But if they had to choose between you guys, between you and Labour, they would pick Labour. Because even though Labour are falling down seemingly, maybe falling down that rabbit hole, at least they are trying to give something. They have announced some good policies. You guys aren't offering anything except removing ourselves from the ECHR, reducing migration. You guys aren't offering anything, any kind of policies, real proper policies that would help people in any way, shape or form. You've got nothing to offer them. Nothing. It's just a lot of talk.
You may think Blair and Brown were defeated in 2010, but the truth is the left never left. It's time to make a change.
The left are not in charge of government. There is no left-wing government. We know they're not a left-wing government in the cabinet because of their actions and their policies. Does Tony Blair have influence with this Labour government? Yes, I do believe that he does. Does Gordon Brown have any influence with this Labour government? He might do, but I don't think he does. So I'm going to leave it at that on that one.
If I become leader, we will immediately begin a once-in-a-generation undertaking. The sort of project not attempted since the days of Keith Joseph in the 1970s. A comprehensive plan to reprogram the British state, to reboot the British economy.
Project 2030! Not 2025. Project 30, guys. A massive project that will take away the state. Let's rip the state up. No more national health care. We're going to put that in the hands of the private care. No more national state police force. We're going to leave it in the hands of private care. No more public transport owned by Transport for London or any others. We're going to put that in the hands of the private sector. Let's put everything down to privatisation. Let's capitalise on this. Let's turn everything into a market. That's what we want to do. Market everything and make more money of them, while we, the government, will sit back and relax while the private sector does everything for us. That is the dream that she wants.
A new blueprint for the great machine of our country. One that goes far beyond the relationship with the EU or the ECHR, a plan that considers every aspect of what the state does and why it does it.
What's the year of the general election? It's 4 years from now, yeah? So, is it 4 years from now? So what, Project 2028, yeah? Is that it? Yeah, is that Kemi's plan, yeah? Project 2028. Make a note. Kemi Bacanot wants to initiate Project 2028. Something like that, anyway, I think. It doesn't show any new members. Something is wrong with YouTube. Yeah, Martin, I said that. Obviously, it hasn't been showing it before. I will give it a couple of days and see if there's an increase in memberships. If not, I'll have to try. I don't know who I'll have. I don't know. I'll have to send them an email or something to have a look at it. If it hasn't gone up, but so far I do see numbers increasing on YouTube memberships. So I do see the increase in. I have seen it on the last reports. But I'll have to. Obviously, I've got a holiday next week, so I may not be able to chase it up this week. But I'll have a look. I will have a look at the analytics. It takes a day or two for it to see on my analytics, but I'll see from that. But thank you for reminding me of that. I will have a look. Jao says there is no left in the UK. There is no PR in the UK. There are clubs. They're called pirate parties, and they all play the same game. I wouldn't say the Greens are too much into it because at the moment the Greens aren't too influenced by too much donations and gifts. At least as far as I'm aware, like not on the same level as the three main political parties anyway. The EU and ECHR, they are not the same, Kemi. Please abstain from doing that as you are talking. It is rotting your brain, says Jao. Yeah. I'll let you know if the money comes back. Thanks, Martin. The problem is tomorrow, yeah, I won't know, obviously, because tomorrow will be my last live stream before the holiday. But if you want to join the Discord and drop me a message there, you're more than welcome to do so as well. It is free to join that if you want to as well. That's any members here, by the way, as well. But thanks for that. I really do appreciate your support. Thank you. Another crazy comment from her.
I do not like to fight, but I'm not afraid to fight. I don't fight for the sake of fighting, but I do fight for you.
Do you think that she fights for you guys? Do you think Kemi really fights for you, or do you think she fights for herself? Answers on a postcard, please.
I fought for conservative values. I fought for them even when I was told it wasn't in my interest. I fought for women's rights to safe spaces and children's rights to grow up in their own time.
How's that? Oh, you want to give it for children as well? How are the children doing in the UK? In particular, let's go with the English children. Yeah, in particular, right? How are they doing, guys? How are they doing? Oh, we have destitute child poverty. Oh, that's not good. Oh. Kemi, where were you when we had destitute child poverty? You know, how fucking dare you talk about children when the destitute of poverty that amongst children is incredibly high? How fucking dare you? No Conservative has any fucking right to talk about children, about wanting better for our children when they've made it worse off for them. They have no goddamn right to talk about children. None whatsoever. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting that they even think of putting words of children in their goddamn mouths.
I fought against those who seek to divide our country based on race. I fought...
You're the one who's... Considering some of the comments and things that you've said, you've divided more people than anything.
The future of my 3 children and for your children. I will always fight against left-wing nonsense.
She sounds like Penny Mordor. Yeah, I saw some of those comments. I did see some of those comments about her.
I'm sad to be in opposition, but there's a part of me that's excited. Because opposition is an opportunity to make Angie uncomfortable, to make Rachel wriggle, and make Starmer sweat. We are going to have fun.
Oh, you can have all the fun you want. I'm happy for you guys to sit in the opposite benches. I'm more than happy for you guys to sit in the opposite benches and have fun, poking fun, making these claims and whatnot. You can do that there, all to your heart's content. Just don't fucking step foot in government again. You know, 14 years speaks for itself, you know. Another one here where she makes a complete ass of herself.
Renewal 2030 because we have to renew. And 2030 is likely the first full year we could have in government. We have it in our power to make the 2030s a golden decade, a time of renewal and growth. Not just growth in GDP or GDP per capita, but growth that most people can feel. Growth in our party and our country. An age that will leave a meaningful legacy for the British people for decades to come.
What? Oh, it's such a shame. It's almost as if, yeah, you guys weren't in power for 14 years and just couldn't get that growth for us. It's almost as if you guys, you know, it's like, we didn't get you growth before, but this time, if you get us back in power, guys, we will give you the growth. Okay, I know it's been 14 years. I know it made things worse. But if you guys vote for us this time, we promise we'll get it done this time. We really, really will.
That forgets that will start to think it knows better than business. It will allow Ed Miliband to build things like a great British energy company. Well, I've had a look at it. It doesn't produce energy, it's not a company, and there's nothing great about it.
We'll find out about that. I know there's been a lot of criticism from Labour about Great British Energy, especially when some of it is funded privately, not just publicly funded. And I think that's a very good point. It's not actually publicly owned, which is also a good thing. But we'll see. We'll see about that one there. That's for sure. Let me come out there. So those was the four created candidates. I know obviously tonight it was going to be, I believe it's tonight they're going to be cut to 2. So correct me if I'm wrong in that as well. I'm just going to have a look and see what you guys are saying in the chat. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Please do so. And please share across social media if you haven't already. And if you haven't subscribed to the subscribe to the channel, please consider subscribing. Help me get to 2,000 subscriptions before the end of the year. It's becoming very, very less and less likely. We've only got October, November, and December. So we're just a couple of months away from the end of the year. I'd like to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, if possible, guys. So please help me get over that line. I would really appreciate it. There's nothing wrong with being left-wing and religion. Nope, there is nothing wrong with being left-wing with religion. I myself am left-wing, although some accuse me of being some right-wing thinking by some religions. Yeah, that's just crazy people who hide behind a keyboard. They don't even have a camera on, do they? I do not like labels or dogmas. Extremists meet in the middle and burn societies, and Kemi is an example of that nonsense. 100%. You know, this is what when I get comments saying that I'm left wing, or because I get a lot of left wing comments. I'm not left wing. I'm not right, and I'm not saying I'm just a guy with an opinion, and you can choose to take my opinion or not. That's the best way to say it. But that's how I like to put it. But yeah, you can call me left wing, right wing, whatever. Just don't insult me. Yes, let's be like the USA. Everything prioritised, and health insurance that covers very little and will bankrupt you. If you have an injury, you don't call an ambulance, as it will cost you $5,000. Absolutely. You know, 20 grand for that cancer treatment to save your life, Mad Monk. 20 grand. The EU and the... Yep, I've covered that one already. There is no left in the UK. There is no PR in the UK. I've covered that comment already. Sorry. Let's see if there's any others. Most young Conservatives have daddy money behind them, and that's what a young Conservative is. I've still to see a poor young Conservative. That's true, Mad Monk. Can we find one? I wonder, maybe if we try some of the poorest places, and let's just say, are you a Conservative voter? They probably will not acknowledge any kind of thing whatsoever. But yeah, didn't one of them get given an opportunity to go to the Conservative Conference as a birthday present or something? Crazy woman says crazy things. Regan's mental health matters. Yeah, mental health does matter. Mental health does matter. Absolutely, absolutely. So, looking at the time there. So I'm gonna have to leave the VP debate. I might do it as a premiere. I might just leave it as a... should I cover this one? No, that's because it's got music in it. I'm going to cover these two. Should I cover this one? Let's cover this last video then. This only came down a few hours ago. Keir Starmer was speaking about... He just had obviously had discussions with Ursula von der Leyen. This is all that I know at the moment, guys. So I have to have a look at it more in due course. Maybe myself and Lee Korn tomorrow will talk about it as well. But he's talking about how he's just had a discussion with Ursula von der Leyen. So let's hear what he had to say here.
Ursula and I have agreed that we can do more together in a few key areas in particular: promoting growth and prosperity, working together on shared challenges like climate change, energy security and illegal migration, and strengthening our shared security and stability. So we're putting our relationship with Europe on a more solid, stable footing. That's what the British people want: a return to pragmatic, sensible leadership when it comes to dealing with our closest neighbours, because they know that this matters for growth, for jobs and for security.
He sounds very boring. Gotta be what I prefer, boring than chaos.
The detailed work to take this forward starts now. We've agreed to hold regular UK-EU summits.
This is a very good sign. This is a good start to hold regular summits with the EU. Even if they don't come to anything, this is a good sign. Number 3, good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. And number 3, if you haven't already, please delete that tweet that you did earlier, because people can't access it unless they're members. So there's no point tweeting about a video that's members only. I did state that.
At leader level, to review progress, starting with a summit in the first half of next year.
That's a good sign. So obviously, have to see. Obviously, there's no guarantees that anything will come of these, but obviously, it will fuel a lot of speculation. There was already a story from the iNews apparently that they may be wooed into buying into the youth scheme with the EU. Apparently, I'm not going to cover that story here. I might cover it. I might drop it as a video maybe next week during my week off, just to talk about it maybe. But
now, of course, there will be issues which are difficult to resolve, and on areas on which we will stand firm. There will be no return to freedom of movement.
Yes, YouTube does allow shares, but there's no point sharing a members video if people can't watch it. So that's the thing. Like, YouTube doesn't. It's not fussed whether it's a members video or not. But it does specifically say under the video whether it's a members only or not. There's no point sharing a members only video if people can't watch it. That's the thing.
No return to the customs union. No return to the single market. But we will find constructive ways to work together and deliver for the British people.
Yeah. We knew I knew he was going to say those things before we even. But you knew he was going to say the things about no return to the single market and customs union. But he is saying some positive things there. Now, this can be really misinterpreted as, going back into the EU and all this kind of stuff. No, we need closer relationship with our EU partners. But it is a lot of it is just rhetoric anyway. So it is just rhetoric as well. So we'll have to wait and see more on this, and just take things with a bit of a pinch of salt as well, because obviously it is obviously. I'm trying to find my right words here. It is obviously a very complex. Well, the straightforward thing is that we just want the straightforward answer is we want to go back in the EU, but we know the ramifications of trying to apply to go back in the EU. First of all, they won't accept it. Secondly, the Conservatives won't do it. And thirdly, we don't have While we have a majority of British public, we need to get more people on board to make the case to rejoin the EU. As much as we want it here and now, there's no point making that progress towards rejoining the EU. And also, you also have to convince all the EU states that we as well. You have to convince the EU states on board as well, because a lot of them don't want us back in because of the way it was dealt with, the way it was handled as well. So there's a lot of work to do. You need to have the majority of political parties behind it. You need to have the majority of politicians behind it. You need to have the majority of the British public behind it, and you also need to have a good, strong relationship with not just with the EU, but with the 28 with the member states as well, if we are to rejoin the European Union. And we are a long way off from all those things happening. And as long as we have a mainstream media that is not in the interest of the British public, we are always going to be lagging behind, I'm afraid, on this one, sadly. So, guys, I have one final video for you guys. Some there's really important out there that we make sure we get ourselves informed with some of the more positive, more constructive, and most unbiased of news, guys. And there is no question that the news that you get from these guys is 100% true, not fake in any way, shape, or form. This is Broken News.
Welcome to Broken News. The National Police Chiefs Council has today said they'll only prioritise cases if there's been a hit TV drama made about them first. The move comes as ITV's Mr. Bates versus the Post Office has proven a ratings smash, giving the investigation into it a big rough rocket up its dry arse. Our reporter has more.
Vigorous campaigning, tireless investigative journalism and petitions with millions of signatures are one thing. But if you want the British establishment to investigate complex and systemic criminality, the real answer is a primetime network tearjerker. That's the message today from UK law enforcement authorities. Senior detectives now say they'll launch an investigation into the test and trace scandal if ITV agrees to a 3-part miniseries called Without a Trace, starring Sheridan Smith. There'll also be arrests made over rampant COVID corruption if the BBC announces 8 episodes of Money for Nothing featuring Suran Jones. And there'll be unlimited resources allocated to investigating the loan charge scandal, only if Channel 4 commissions The Lone Danger with Sheridan Smith and Suran Jones. Well, TV drama has also been effective in getting the attention of Prime Ministers and Home Secretaries, who, up until now, couldn't have given a wet shit about any of it. It's also hoped the telly-first technique could be useful for actually jailing some of the reprehensible fucks who are responsible for the 72 people who were killed at Grenfell. But in a statement, the CPS said, "Prosecute the rich and powerful? How hilarious. Piss off." Back to you.
Thank you. And we're just hearing that ITV has announced that the government's response to the police response to the public's response to the post office scandal will feature in an hour-long special. Sheridan Smith will star in Bandwagon, the Sunak story, Sunday nights from 9. What a lovely story. That's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
Larry and Paul there, guys. Do check out their YouTube channel, Larry and Paul, as well. Very, very interesting broken news there from Larry and Paul, guys. Very, very interesting. They are very good at making fun of things. There should be a climate crisis drama, also called Without a Trace. There should be more, yeah. Yeah, they do. They have done films on it all. They have done the films where nobody just seems to take it. Falls on deaf ears, you know. Have the EU agree with periodic summits is a victory for Starmer in and of itself, says Jal. It is. It's a good start. It is 100% a good start. Like, at least they're establishing talks. It's nothing guaranteed, but it's a start on something. And I 100% agree. Yeah, it's a long way off, but yeah, I do agree. I do agree with that. So surely publication encourages people to become members. I really don't understand the world. The thing is, like, it's fine, number 3. Like, at the end of the day, if you want to put it out there, you can put it out there. But problem is that it's just, yeah, not everybody's going to pay. They're getting told, oh, if you want to watch this video, you've got to pay 99p for it. You know, Patreon started this new feature that I really hate, where it keeps telling me every time I create content for the Patreon, it keeps saying, do you want to charge people to watch it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to charge people to watch it. Either they become members or they get it for free, one of the two. I don't want to charge people to watch a video. They're not going to pay to watch that video. I don't like that. I don't like that. My content is not worth that. It is not worth that much value, if I'm honest. Saw a couple of hours that Israel started opening fire towards Palestine. Yeah, US is stationed in Iran. Yeah, US is stationed in lots of places there. So, guys, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thank you. Thank you for those who have gifted memberships. for gifting memberships. Martin, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I'll try and keep an eye on it if I can. Obviously, if the numbers go up, then obviously it means it's gone through. But if it hasn't, then obviously we'll have to see how it goes. But thank you guys for coming along, guys. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you for coming along today. It's been a quiet Snowflake watch in comparison to some other ones. Normally there's a lot more going on. But so I am planning some additional content to try and do. Like the next 2 days are going to be absolute hell for me because I really need to focus on the channel. I need to get, like, these last 2 days I've been occupied with other stuff, but tomorrow and Friday I've got to try and prepare as much content as I can for next week for you guys, because I'm not going to have much time to do content on Saturday. I will not be able to do any on Sunday, and then on Monday I fly out on holiday, so I will not be able to do any content. But like I said, I will do a post to remind you. But before then, we have one more live stream, guys. I have one more live stream for you guys, and that is tomorrow. Myself and Lee Corn, we're doing the Snowflake talks. So do join us for that 8 o'clock. It is only on YouTube, so if you're watching on Twitch, you need to switch over to YouTube if you want to watch that. It's only available on YouTube, guys, because we do it via StreamYard. And we're going to talk all sorts of things. We're going to talk about the Snowflake Show, the original channel that myself and Lee Corn that started up. We're going to talk a bit about him, a bit about his politics, and a bit about a bit of history for himself as well. So do come join us tomorrow evening. It's going to be. I'm very excited to have him on. It has been a long time. There won't be another Snowflake talks for a while after that, guys. Not gonna lie, because I don't have anybody else lined up at the moment. So yeah. Thanks guys for coming along. Ollie has disappeared. I don't know where he's gone, so he's not there. But I can show you the crew here, minus Ollie. Oh, there he is. He's hiding. He didn't want to get. There we are. He's here. He's very grumpy. He's always grumpy all the time. He's always grumpy for some reason. There we are. Making him smile. Because make him smile today. Thanks guys for all coming along, and hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. But just before I go, I have one last funny thing. As for, I would have done. I honestly wanted to do a Discord chat after this show, but I've got content I need to do after this as well. So I do apologize for those who wanted to do a Discord chat. So I do apologize for that. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just 99p, or you can follow me on, or you can join Patreon or Rumble for exclusive content on either of those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.